Hi there, it's Lynn here. It struck me with the launch of our new Frankincense Intense Lift serum that it might seem to some that actually that facial range is now quite crowded and may be slightly confusing to some about the different types of products that are in that range. And when we're confused, actually, it becomes then really difficult to make great recommendations and obviously then good sales from our customers if we can't really be confident about what the product does and how it works and what the advantages are. So, in particular, this morning, I wanted to talk to you about our amazing frankincense treatment range because here we have actually 4 treatment products. And it could well be that you're starting to already feel quite confused and misunderstanding the differences of each of these products. So I wanted to just spend some time this morning going through what the benefits of each of those are and sharing with you some of my kind of tips and observations about those products. But first of all, actually, let's just think about really what we mean when we're talking about aging in particular. And that's, as we know, the key feature of our frankincense range. So overall, I would say that the frankincense skincare ranges are perfect for all skincare types. We can fall into the trap of putting an age-specific criteria around them, and that's not necessarily the case. Actually, our skin ages right from birth, and so as we progress through life, through teenage years into our more mature years, our skin continues to age. And obviously, there are two types of aging actually. One is the physical type, and we call that the intrinsic type of aging. And that's really not a lot of control over, we don't have a lot of control over that. That's our internal genetics, our internal physiology that kind of controls that. And then, of course, there is the extrinsic type of aging, and that is much more about external factors, so environmental aging. So we might think about UV damage from the sun, for instance, or smoking and pollution. It obviously also is affected by poor diet, and definitely an increasing factor for many people is stress. And we often might not think about the stressful lives that we lead, but actually that can affect our skin and our aging, qualities of the skin in particular. So, we often actually say, don't we, that if somebody we see that may be relatively young in life, but that maybe has socialised quite a lot, lived overseas in sunny climates, or just had quite a harrowing series of life, maybe, recent bereavements, we can often say, actually, we can see those signs on their face quite immediately. And that's due to the stress factors. So what happens when we're talking about aging then? Well, again, there are 2 different kind of categories of aging. The quantitative changes to the skin, and by that I mean the things that we can physically see. So the slackening or the sagging of the skin, often around the jowl area, around the mouth, and obviously around the eyes, and that creates a lack of definition, so we're not looking as plump and as firm across the skin, and that can definitely age us. Actually, our skin can become quite thin as we age as well, and that can be connected to a loss of fat in the subcutaneous layer of the skin. Actually, we can also see changes to the skin's colour and evenness in tone, and the pigmentation often changes. And then actually we can also start to see, certainly in specific areas, dilation of the capillaries, for instance, where we can see veins on the surface of the skin, or maybe there are broken veins and inflamed capillaries, etc., which create the redness and maybe a touch of things like rosacea, etc. And then, of course, we have the biochemical aging process that goes on. And as I say, this really happens all the time within our bodies. And yet, actually, those natural processes start to decrease as we age. So when we're sort of in our teens, in our early 20s, everything's working super efficiently. Our skin cells reproduce themselves, our collagen and elastin, those vital firming fibres within the skin, are strong and vibrant. Our lipid production, those healthy fats, are actually really supportive and plumping to the skin. And our cell turnover is really super fast. So what that means is that we get a radiant complexion more often than not. And but as we age, all of those things actually slow down. So they don't actually ever stop actually until we really physically die, but they do slow down immensely. And obviously, if we are also then exposing our skin to some of those extrinsic aging factors, then actually those aging processes will decrease further. So actually we start to see more physical signs of aging faster. So when we're starting to think about good skincare, then we know that actually we always talk about the 3 stages of skincare. So cleansing, toning, treatment, and then moisturising. And actually when I think we're new consultants, and indeed when we're maybe confused customers, we don't really understand the benefits of that skincare routine that of course we generally recommend twice a day. Now the cleanse, tone and moisturise very often are the 3 things that anybody that says they have a good skincare routine actually do pretty regularly. But one of the things I've found with many of my customers and people that I'm kind of talking to about good skincare is that they very often miss that treatment stage. And we can talk about that category in a number of ways. It can be a daily treatment that we do actually incorporate into that 4-stage skincare routine, or indeed it can be our weekly routine. So by that I would probably mean things like exfoliating and masks. But today I wanted to talk to you about the daily skincare treatment. And yes, that is the stage in between our toning and our moisturising. And I think this is something that people really fail to see the benefit of, and very often don't do because they misunderstand the benefits. And we get really hung up about moisturising the skin. But actually when we think about what moisturising does, moisturising is a protective layer on the outside of the skin. So to moisturise the surface and those external cells, and to smooth and protect the skin from the external environment. But what we actually may not recognise is that a moisturiser, the molecules of those fats and ingredients are relatively large. And that means that they don't penetrate too deep into the skin. When we also understand that actually the aging process really happens in the dermis of the skin, that's the second layer down. And that's really where the collagen and elastin, those vital proteins to keeping our skin firm and taut and helping plump up those skin cells, that's where those constraints are. And so actually if we only moisturise the skin, there are little ingredients that can penetrate deeper into the dermis. When then we can use a product that can actually penetrate much deeper because of its molecular formulation, the ingredients can be absorbed much deeper and then start to be active ingredients to really help synergise all of the process of anti-aging, so slowing down really the degradation of collagen and elastin fibres. And actually we're starting to see that some of the amazing ingredients that we use also then help the body to synthesize and regenerate those cells and those proteins, so that actually we're also increasing the body's natural ability to really reduce that aging process. So those for me are the wonderful, wonderful products that we call our facial treatments. And when I kind of break through with a customer and get them to use one of these treatments, I would say pretty instantly they start to see a miraculous change of their skin, even if they've had a very, very good skincare routine. They will immediately start to see a more radiant skin and actually start to see a smoother skin, and over time then they also start to see the aging effect really start to reduce. So these are a really important category of products. So the ones I wanted to talk to you about today obviously were the Frankincense collection. And specifically then, I thought I'd do this because we do now have these 4 products. And I think it starts to get really quite confusing about the differences and the specific, what we might call USPs of each one of these products. And when we don't know those, when we're not confident about those, actually it becomes really difficult to match our customers' needs and requirements to a specific product. And we're more likely to get that wrong for them. And then actually, if it's not the right kind of product, they're probably not going to have the best experience with it, and then we might lose their custom. So really understanding your products and how they stand apart from each other will mean that you can actually increase your customer satisfaction and therefore your long-term sales from those customers. Now each one of these has, if you like, been superseded. So over the 8 years that I've been with MYRO, these are all what I would call new products. So they weren't originally available when I first joined 8 years ago. And actually in the order that I've kind of got them here, I think we can see their introduction to the business. I think that's correct. And each time one of these is introduced, we suddenly think, oh, does that mean that this product is not now worthy because we've got this one? And oh wow, we've got the intense concentrate, so these two may not be necessary, and so forth. And I think there are some questions that you might have indeed about the lift concentrate. So does that supersede the intense? Well, the answer simply to all of that is no. They all have their own place and they will all have their own customer. And that's what I want you to help you understand this morning by understanding the individuality of these 4 products. Okay, so I'm actually going to start with a facial oil. Now, many of you will have heard me talk about facial oils before. I think these little guys get a really bad rap. And one of the reasons is that people's perception of what an oil is and what it might do and how it might feel is usually ill-conceived. And that's often based on their previous kind of experiences with oil. And if we think about, you know, maybe the simplest version of what oil might feel like, you know, if we think about a baby oil that we put on the skin, and it just moves around the skin and sits on the surface like a slippery slick. And of course that doesn't feel very nice if you particularly have what we might call an oily skin. So you're very conscious of the surface of the skin being oily anyway. The last thing you'd really want is oil on the skin and to exacerbate that. Now the difference here is that oil that I've used as an example is a mineral oil, and the skin won't recognise the mineral oil. In fact, the mineral oil just sits on the top of the skin. It can't really penetrate at all. Whereas our facial oils, of course, are all plant oils, and so molecularly our skin totally recognises these oils and therefore can absorb them really, really easily. And so I've had great success with actually people with oily skin using a facial oil. Now, if we think through the logic of that, an oily skin is defined by the overproduction of sebum, the skin's natural lubrication and oil, and that comes through the pores onto the surface of the skin. Now we know then that if somebody's got more extremely oily skin, actually that can be problematic because it can block the skin's pores, it can attract dirt, and that can become bacterially infected, and therefore we can start to see blockages of the skin, we start to see spots and maybe acne. So again, that understanding that that's what an oily skin is and how it functions is really important to the remedies. So often people with oily skin reach for really abrasive and astringent products to strip the oil from their skin. But actually our body is so clever that when it realises that there is no oil on the skin, it actually produces more. So this sort of action is counterproductive and actually quite dangerous to the long-term structure of the skin. Because if we keep stripping the skin of its natural oils and debalancing it, it can actually then sensitise the skin in some ways. So, unlike those oils, a natural plant oil penetrates deep into the dermis, and then the sebaceous glands can actually recognise more. There is plenty of oil on the skin. In fact, I can feel all these amazing omega oils. I don't need to produce so much oil. So actually I've had great success with people with oily skin using facial oils, that actually it starts to reduce and rebalance the skin, reduce the oil production and rebalance the skin. So I'm gonna, unashamedly say my favourite facial oil is actually the orange flower facial oil. But when we launched this a few years ago, probably 5 years ago now, I did give this one a try. Because it's good to always try new products and understand what they are. Look at that golden beautiful oil there, and actually I was pleasantly surprised by how much I did like the oil. So I'm just going to put one drop on my hand here, and you can see hopefully that. So here you can see I've put that drop of oil onto the skin, and it spreads such a long way. All across my hand and arm, and just disappears, really sinks into the skin really well. Now that's the firstly, I think the misconception that people have is that oil would stay on the skin, but there you can see it's kind of disappeared, and it actually does have a matte finish. So beautiful oil. Now this, I would say, is the key to selling a facial oil as opposed to a serum, for instance. It's going to be a customer's preference to the texture and their experience with the product. So it won't be for some, and actually there's no right or wrong for anybody in particular. But for me, the facial oils are just deeply nourishing. That's how I always think about oils, is that if somebody really feels that their skin needs lots and lots of nourishment, lots of, replenishment, feels as if it's lacking in something, then very often the facial oils are really deeply satisfying in that way. And we get that omega rich botanical oil blend from things like the macadamia seed nut oil, baobab, and then hemp seed oil, so really rich in those omegas that is necessary for the cellular kind of structures and vitality. And actually this facial oil was clinically proven also to moisturise for up to 12 hours. So again, lots of great kind of recommendation and pedigree there. Now the other thing I just wanted to point out to you as well is the differences in the types of frankincense that we're using within these 4 products that I'm going to talk about this morning. So in the facial oil, we've actually got Carteri, the frankincense Boswellia carteri, which comes currently from Somalia. So as then we move on and talk about the serum. So these 2 products I would categorise as alternatives to each other. So these are probably for people that are already aware that their skin needs some extra help. Maybe they're starting to see very, very simple signs that their skin is starting to age, or they want to hold back those signs of aging. So starting earlier maybe in their skincare routine and maturity of wanting to, really kind of support and slow down that aging process. So here I've got the frankincense serum, and this is a milky, this is a new bottle so it's not coming out easily. Let me do it up this way. So this is a kind of milky serum, you can see there. It's quite light in texture. I've got 2 splodges there, so this is going to go on forever, especially over the oil. But you can see again, really even, easy coverage, a very light milky liquid that moves across the skin beautifully, and again absorbs really, really quickly. So for me, this is again really about choice. If somebody doesn't want to have that rich, nourishing feeling of the oil on their skin, then this is a really light alternative. And actually I'm somebody personally that doesn't like the feeling of thick, rich creams, even if, I'm aware that my skin might need that richness and nourishment. I don't like that sensation, and I don't like any residue on my skin. So actually either an oil or this lovely light serum is perfect for me, because it is light, it absorbs really easily, and there is no feeling of really the product left on the skin. And I would describe this serum really as radiance boosting. So whereas the differential point for the oil is probably about nourishment, whilst this is obviously going to moisturise and nourish the skin too, for me this is about it being really antioxidant and radiance boosting, so brightening the skin. And we've got some fantastic then antioxidant ingredients in here of the blueberry oil and gotu kola. So, and we know that antioxidants really help reduce those free radicals in the body, and those are the things that actually start to increase our aging process through the skin too. Now in this product we actually start to use the frankincense Boswellian neglector, and that's the frankincense that comes from Kenya, and the stories we have about the Samburu tribes of women that we support through our work with MYRO. Okay, so now I want to talk about the Frankincense Intense product, so third on our list. Now this was a really, really exciting breakthrough product when we started to launch this. And of course we started with the moisturiser, and then we introduced the concentrate. So we now know that we have the trio of intense products, so the moisturiser, concentrate and eye cream, and we've got huge fan base already for these products in the last few years, which is pretty amazing, and they've won lots and lots of awards and have become really top selling products. So what was different about the Intense range? Well, this was really formulated for those people that were physically seeing those first signs of aging. So what we mean by those first signs of aging is really fine lines, the start of wrinkles, and maybe some, things like discoloration or lacking of firmness across the skin. So actually those physical manifestations of aging were showing on the skin already. And so that needed extra support, it needed extra help. And then so the Intense range offers some of those ingredients to combat some of those signs of aging. So in this product we really revolutionised how we put products together. And this product in particular contains a tripeptide complex, and it also contains the gardenia stem cells. And what they basically do is really start to synthesize the collagen and elastin and new skin cells in themselves, and they work synergistically in the body to encourage the regrowth and the stimulation of those structures. So whereas the previous two products, they support them and they slow down the negative effects of aging, actually what this one starts to do is starts to increase the body's ability to reproduce those cells and those structures, which is pretty amazing. And so we started to then see that we got some pretty superior results from this product, and we had this product clinically tested, and there's all the trials stats available. So actually within 30 minutes this product will generally show signs of smoothness and reduce signs of fine lines. And then we can actually start to see results over 7 days where the fine lines are actually starting to smooth out and reduce completely. So really, really terrific product here. So again, this is our concentrate, and this I would say is more of a clear gel-like. So whereas our concentrate I just used was more white milky substance, this is fairly opaque jelly kind of substance. So as I move that across the skin, it feels cooler, slightly more tacky on the skin as it actually smooths across the skin now. But again, you can see moves smoothly across the skin, and I have to say that actually feels really amazing on the skin, even though my skin has just had a dose of oil and frankincense serum. I can immediately feel that that is actually starting to tighten the skin cells there amazingly. And I don't know whether that's me in the light here, but that seems to actually have been smoothing out kind of some of the light on the skin there and make that a bit more radiant. Don't know how you feel about that, but it seems to me that that feels and looks to me as if it's a bit smoother and already kind of reflecting the light more evenly. And obviously that's really what we always want to do for our skin, and obviously our faces more, so that if we're reflecting the light well, then actually we look more radiant, we look more youthful if we've got a smoother, more radiant skin. So that's what I can kind of start to instantly see and feel for me with the Intense concentrate there. And just so that you know, then the Neglector frankincense is what we're using in this product too. Okay, so excitingly, moving on to our fourth product. So I think when we were advised about this product, we started to think, well, is that really one product too far? How can this possibly be better than the Intense concentrate? Where does this really sit? Well, for starters, I want you to just draw your attention to how this bottle looks. I mean, we thought that the Intense actually looked pretty superior to some of the products and quite classy, but for me this one, and with the box with the gold foiling and match them with the gold leafing on the bottle and the gold detailing, actually really takes us into a different level and category in our competition, and really makes this for me look like a real premium product. And we know that there is a real market for those premium products. In fact, I'm sure like me, some of your customers, whilst they are challenged by price, some of them are actually challenged by the fact that products are too inexpensive, and then they don't think that they can possibly work. So we start to reach out to those people that maybe have some snobbery values about their skincare, and then they can really start to see the benefits of that premium type product too from Neal's Yard Remedies. So again, this lovely dropper, you can see already, this is a whiter liquid again. I'm just going to drop that onto my hand here. One drop there onto the skin. That was a bit stubborn. There we go. Nice and easy. So this feels actually slightly denser milk to the first serum that I tried, and you can see that this is clears as it moves across the skin again. So rather than the milky liquid. And again, this feels much silkier, but what I want to encourage you to do is always get people to smell and just mindfully use the product. One of the things that you're going to start to hear a lot more about this product is actually that we've managed to get it clinically proven to reduce stress and improve well-being. So actually the phrase and strapline with this product is age well and stress less. And of course we actually know that the benefits of frankincense are far more reaching than just what they can actually do for our skin and anti-aging properties. So we've actually started to utilise those properties within this product, and then we're starting to really encourage people to mindfully connect and enjoy that frankincense aroma as they really use their skincare. And of course, when we're deep breathing, when we take in the aromas, when we're connecting mindfully with something, actually what we're also doing is really helping to de-stress our bodies too. And what we learned first thing when I talked about one of the signs of aging, or not signs, actions of aging, is that stress increases those. So by de-stressing ourselves, our lives, our bodies, actually we're going to really increase the chances that our skin doesn't age quite as fast either. So again, there you can see that feels beautiful on the skin. There's no kind of residue across the skin at all. Fantastically smooth. And I have to say, I am not actually the biggest fan of the smell of frankincense, but this one is actually, it's slightly more citrus, it's slightly smoother. It's not quite as woody maybe as some of the others. And I'm definitely a floral fan in essential oils, so sometimes the frankincense can be a bit too woody for me, but this is beautiful. It's quite subtle. And so this product is designed really for the second stages of aging. So we're probably looking for those people that are maturing in age, but we're not defining them by age. we're actually looking for that person that feels that they are showing signs more specifically on their skin, and that they are really seeing fine lines. They're really seeing that their wrinkles are appearing faster and deeper, and that their their skin is not as firm as it might be, and they might show signs of sagging. Particularly, we get that around the jowl and mouth area, and so that firmness, that tautness goes, and of course that starts to age us. So again, the technology of these green fantastic ingredients actually have been formulated so that they can start to combat all of those signs. And in addition to the frankincense, then we've got 5 fantastic ingredients that are going to actually work synergistically to increase all of that activity. So for starters, we've got microalgae. So it's a protein-rich source that's going to boost the skin's nourishment and actually really start to boost the skin's natural elasticity. And of course we know, don't we, that as we age, the skin's elasticity, that those elastin fibres really start to break down, and then we don't always see that our skin pops back exactly the way that we might want it. It's not quite as flexible and taut. So that algae is going to really start to boost that elasticity back into the skin. And then we've got some linseed oil, and linseed is one of the richest sources of those essential fatty acids, in particular omega-3. So that's vital to skin integrity, to ensuring that the skin cells are strong and can actually hold all the moisture, and actually are less resistant to disease. And so the linseed oil and those omega-3s really start to boost that vitality of the skin cells, and that will also increase the hydration in the skin cells for longer. And then we've got an ingredient called ribose. Now this is the body's natural sugar actually. So all of our cells need sugars to produce energy and to do all the activities that they need so cleverly within our body. So the ribose is actually going to increase cellular function, which means it can actually help the body reproduce skin cells, be more vital for longer, and actually that will help reduce our wrinkles. And then I think we've got a natural favourite ingredient, the turmeric. And turmeric, again, in Ayurvedic skincare, has always been used to brighten and lighten the skin in some way. It's an immensely antioxidant ingredient, and so actually starts to reduce inflammation in the skin, so reduce any redness, or maybe improve the complexion and the tone of the skin. So really starting to brighten and lighten the skin, and obviously giving that radiance a boost as well. And then the other 5th vital ingredient that we've got in this product is hyaluronic acid. Now hyaluronic acid is actually a substance that's naturally occurring in every cell in all of our bodies, and it's what creates the substance in the skin cell that we call natural moisture. But again, over time, and as our skin cells age, and our ability to process and retain that moisture, that hyaluronic acid reduces, and so our skin cells aren't quite as plump, and when they're not quite as plump, they're not going to hold up the skin, make it look as smooth, as radiant. So actually the inclusion of natural hyaluronic acid that we attain from plant sources and add into the product is then going to mirror what our bodies naturally have. And in fact, this is an amazing substance because it can attract more and more moisture itself and increase its molecular structure. So actually it's a really superb plumping agent. So there we can see that with that combination of ingredients, we're really going to get those effects of lift, plump and recontouring. So again, really starting to see those improvements to any areas that are sagging or wrinkling. Okay, so I hope that's a recap on those 4 key products for you, and to kind of summarise, for me, each one of those has a place in its own customer. Initially, I would say anybody would benefit from using the facial oil or the facial serum. So, people that are already aware that they want to hold back the times of aging, for me, those two products are a simple choice to add into their skincare routine. And the choice between the two is all going to be about their preference of texture and experience on the skin. And then for those people that are already starting to see the first signs of aging, we've got our Intense Concentrate. Again, slightly different in texture, a gelée I would describe that as, rather than a milky serum. So again, a different textural experience. But those people that want the immediate effects, we know that that is clinically proven to provide those anti-aging effects within 7 days. And then of course now our pièce de résistance, the second signs of aging, for those people that have already physically can see the aging signs on their face, are starting to want help and assistance with lifting and plumping and recontouring of their face, as well as those fine lines and wrinkles. We have our Intense Lift Serum. So I hope that summarises and helps you with some of the key features of those products, and of course, happy selling.